Michal Isaacson, and I'm a postdoc here at the AIDS Lab. I graduated from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem as a geographer, and I study mobility and spatial behavior of older adults. I graduated 20 years ago from this AMIT High School. I studied computer science and physics. Having a double bagrut like that helped me pursue the things that I wanted to pursue later in university, and having a strong scientific background is always a good thing. When I was discharged from the Army, I studied all kinds of things, and I ended up studying in the geography department at the Hebrew University. I have a PhD in urban geography. I study how older adults use space. I study their mobility and how they consume urban environments. We live in Kfar Adumim, which is a small settlement of mixed Dati and Chiloni families right next to Ma'ale Adumim on the way out of Jerusalem. And today we live in Boston because I'm doing a postdoc at MIT.
You know, Michal, that when we came to Israel and you were in second grade, and it was very difficult because you didn't know any Hebrew, and we purposely moved to Rehovot because there was a good English-speaking community here where English was taught in the schools. And you laughed at us because we only spoke English to you and said, this is so stupid, but now you do the same thing with your children because you know perfectly well that it's a tool for later on. But when we were here and you chose to go to high school at actually at an Ulpana girls' school, and it wasn't that successful for you because in fact there wasn't much diversity there, and the people really did not encourage diversity in different points of view and different ways of looking at the world and different political points of view. So you transferred to AMIT Rehovot and in fact found much more diversity here than there had been in the previous school. The changes these days to AMIT have been immense, and when I received from Cheryl in the office the news about the new prizes that the children won in the schools, and I look at the names, I see that these are children from all kinds of different backgrounds, and these children are winning major awards. These are children that really have a chance to become the top of whatever it is they want to become. And when you see that AMIT is actually, they're feeding into this, they're making this happen, they're making it grow, it can only be that there are really good schools behind it, and people who are listening and who want to help those children be the best they can be in their diversity. I remember when you were in AMIT and you wanted to go and learn one day a week, you wanted to learn Talmud. And there was no such Misgaret, there was no such framework in AMIT in Rehovot. And the principal said, yes, you may go off, was it one day a week? To Yerushalayim, to a private teacher with a friend, to learn something that you wanted to learn very much. So that even in those days, they were recognizing a personal talent, a search for something else, and encouraging it. As Americans coming here, it was difficult, actually. We weren't raised here. We didn't know the Gan songs. We didn't know the things that other people knew because they'd been raised here and they had that network. We didn't have that, but we brought something else that at first maybe wasn't so well received, but has become more well received in these years. And I think you're seeing that very much so, where you're living now.
Yeah, I agree. Diversity is very important.
It is.
I think that it lends a richness to our lives. And I think that the community here at AMIT was very diverse and rich culturally. Mm-hmm. And I think that richness is something that till today I kind of play with, trying to figure out, and in the context of my work, to figure out how older adults can keep that richness in their life, that vibrancy, mm-hmm. That complexity lends to life. So Mom, how did you get involved with AMIT?
Well, both your grandmothers on both sides were AMIT women, AMIT members. For all the years I was growing up in my own house, and then later on when I got married, I found out that your grandma Esther, Savta Esther, also was an AMIT woman. And at one point when we lived in Philadelphia, I helped establish a chapter there, the Balakinwood chapter. And then I became a field worker for AMIT and helped establish the chapter in Cherry Hill. So I worked for AMIT in those years. We lived in Philadelphia before we came back to Israel. And it was funny because I was a mother in Israel, and my mother did the campaign Always Mother in Israel, and we bought each other the Mother in Israel thing. I think my grandmother even, who was in Europe at the time, also was a mother in Israel. And then we come here and guess what? Now we're mothers in Israel, and I'm sending my children to the AMIT school. So that's like, oh, my money actually went someplace and it really did something, and I'm actually using it, availing myself now of that. So that was actually very cool to see that. I didn't think that would ever happen. So that was actually very interesting. And today I'm proud to say that I work with AMIT. I've been on the executive council for a few years, and I work with missions to come here, as you know. And one of the things we like to do with the missions is include diversity so that they see the different populations in this country. And one of the other exciting things we do is mitzvah type things for people to come here and do mitzvahs. So we've done some twinning, and AMIT has set up a whole wonderful program now for people who come here in the summertime or during the year, and they can see things in action and participate. So that's the way we kind of like tourists to see AMIT as well. And that's my involvement in AMIT.